Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 108. We're going to talk about Lyumi from 1991. I had to match a downloaded subtitle track with a YouTube video to watch this. I had not seen this before. As always, we start with the prominent crew and cast. You can find links to a more complete credit list in the show notes. It should shock no one that I was able to find little biographical information on the cast and crew in English. I also apologize for the inevitable pronunciation errors. This film was written and directed by Vladimir Bragin. Cast includes Andrei Sherbovich-Vekner as Gumpert, Vida Grebneva as Mariana, Nadezhda Butyaseva as Inga, Alexander Potapov as Yanis, Alexei Selevarostorov as Imant, Kapitolina Ilyenko as Esther, Alexander Makov as Sigis, Alexei Malyakov as Lyumi, and Vladimir Belousov as weapons dealer. This film took a lot of work to get with English subtitles. It's new and different, that's for sure. It's not really a werewolf film, and I'll talk more about that when I cover the werewolf lore. And it has very different sensibilities to Western movies coming out of the Soviet film world. The audio in particular was very echoey and often distracting. I was intrigued by this film, but I didn't really enjoy it, and I don't think I recommend it. Now, Lyumi was released in 1991, a pivotal year in Russian history as it marked the dissolution of the Soviet Union. This context is crucial to exploring production circumstances. Like other first times we've tackled foreign, to me, films, I'll use this opportunity to cover Soviet films later in the episode. As always, I am not an expert on this topic. So now the synopsis. A hunter buys a pistol and an AK-47 from a gun dealer in a forest clearing. A 7-foot-tall hooded figure scares the dealer as he drives away. Inga lives with her husband Yanis and daughter Mariana. The hooded figure hitches a ride from a trucker and other drivers. His presence deeply unsettles them. Yanis expects a friend of his named Gumpert to visit. Two TV talking heads discuss the Lyumi, calling it a legendary creature, a wolf dressed in human clothes. Apparently, the story of Little Red Riding Hood replays itself every 100 years. This thought terrifies the young Mariana. Everyone who gave the hooded man a ride ends up dead. The hunter is tracking these mysterious deaths. Also, Gumpert is that hunter. Old Aunt Esther doesn't like Gumpert and his violent ways. Gumpert prepares Mariana and educates her on how to defend herself from the wolfman. He gives her a red cap, a book on Lyumi history, and a can of pepper spray. Gumpert's great-grandpa killed the last Lyumi 100 years ago. Gumpert looks right into the camera and says the Lyumi is powerful because idiots, like us, don't believe in it. Gumpert name-checks Charles Perrault's Le Petit Chaperon Rouge, Little Red Riding Hood, published in 1697. Inga kisses Gumpert and hints that Mariana is actually his child. Yana sees this and is upset. He doesn't react too much. She also says that Gumpert isn't from this planet and that she wants to go back with him. Now, Gumpert tracks Lyumi to a booby-trapped forest cabin. Despite knowing the wolfman is in the forest, Mariana plays in the woods. Lyumi steals Aunt Esther's hatchet. The wolfman barely misses Gumpert with a thrown axe, and Gumpert drives the wolfman off with wild pistol fire. The two engage in a tense hunter and wolf standoff in the forest. A friend of the family named Imant pops up and almost gets himself shot. Inga gets him to take Mariana home. Both Gumpert and the wolfman avoid traps that each set for the other. Now, Imant is an idiot and stops in the woods to pick mushrooms, and Mariana gets lost. A soldier with a watermelon named Sigis scares Imant. Lyumi kidnaps Imant and drops him off at Aunt Esther's house. Gumpert shows up and strongly encourages Esther to leave the house for her own safety. Gumpert and Imant split up. Gumpert gives Imant a pistol for protection. Yanis threatens to kill Inga for her infidelity, and then he drives away in a fury. Sigis takes Gumpert prisoner. He's seen blood on the ground and thinks that a crime has been committed. He cuffs Gumpert. Turns out Sigis and Inga are siblings. Sigis is caught in one of Lyumi's traps and knocked out. A handcuffed Gumpert runs. He encounters Yanis on the road, but Yanis refuses to help him and drives off, only to be chased down by the wolfman. I mean, Lyumi tears this car apart and tosses it off the road like a toy. Imant gets back to the main house, and Inga tries to get him to tell her what happened to Mariana, but he won't, even when she pulls a gun on him. Yanis shows up and accidentally knocks Imant out. Then Sigis shows up and he passes out. Inga wonders if any of these three are the Lyumi. Mariana finds her way to Aunt Esther's house. The Wolfman follows her there. Gumpert has a great shot at the Wolfman, but finally steps into one of Lyumi's traps. The beast hides in Esther's bed. He attacks Mariana, ripping her Red Riding Hood off. She pulls curtains over his head and opens the trap door to the basement. She also accidentally pepper sprays Gumpert when he staggers in to save her. Gumpert falls into the basement. He taunts Lyumi into pursuing him, hinting that he is over 100 and has killed the last Wolfman. Gumpert kills the big bad wolf with the hatchet. As Gumpert recovers, he draws the Lyumi and thinks about the next hunt in 100 years. There is no transformation scene. The Lyumi shows up looking like himself, and he never changes. So what does the Lyumi look like? The look itself is not great, but it's also not horrible. It's a 7-foot-tall hooded figure with clawed and furry hands. We never get a good look at its face, but the picture Gumpert draws at the conclusion looks much more like a Neanderthal than a wolf. I think if I really wanted to put my analytical mind to it, I could make a fairly compelling argument that this film is using the Little Red Riding Hood fairy tale as a metaphor for human dominance over nature in the form of our distant evolutionary cousins combined with the wolf. It's a fight we have to win over and over. But since that's not a lycanthropic theme, I'll just leave it there. This is a Soviet adaptation of the Little Red Riding Hood story. We've seen Little Red Riding Hood adapted as a werewolf story before with The Company of Wolves in 1984, and it's going to show up again multiple times. The core fairy tale certainly shares common themes and ideas with werewolves, but Lyumi doesn't take the step of conflating the big bad wolf with a human being. The Lyumi never shifts forms. He's a tall, ugly wolf in the shape of a man who tries to hunt down and kill a young girl once every century. Now, as promised, the simplified history showing how Soviet filmmaking was inextricably linked to the political landscape of the Soviet Union. From its revolutionary beginnings in 1917 to its dissolution in 1991, cinema reflected, reacted to, and at times influenced the socio-political changes occurring within the world's first socialist state. I'll try to summarize the evolution of Soviet cinema, examining how political forces shaped artistic expression and how filmmakers navigated the complex terrain between state control and creative freedom. The birth of cinema preceded the Russian Revolution of 1917 by a few decades. In the aftermath of the Bolshevik takeover, the new government recognized the potential of film as a powerful tool. Vladimir Lenin famously declared in 1922, "The cinema is, for us, the most important of all the arts." This sentiment set the stage for state involvement in film production. During the early years, the film industry faced significant challenges due to civil war, economic hardship, and lack of resources. The period saw the emergence of agitki, short propaganda pieces designed to spread revolutionary ideas and garner support for the new regime. As the Soviet Union stabilized in the 20s, cinema entered a period of creativity and innovation, often referred to as the golden age of Soviet silent film. This era was characterized by experimentation with film form and the development of montage theory. Filmmakers like Sergei Eisenstein, Vsevolod Pudovkin, and Dziga Vertov pushed the boundaries of cinematic language. Eisenstein's theory of montage, as demonstrated in films like Strike and Battleship Potemkin, both in 1925, revolutionized editing techniques and storytelling. These directors used dynamic editing, symbolic imagery, and non-professional actors to create a distinctly Soviet film aesthetic that influenced filmmakers worldwide. The relative artistic freedom allowed for the exploration of revolutionary themes and celebrated collective heroism. Films often focused on historical events paralleling the recent revolution, such as Eisenstein's October in 1928, which recreated the events of 1917. While these works aligned with state ideology, they also represented genuine artistic innovation. However, even during this period of relative freedom, the state acquired significant control over the film industry. The Communist Party established organizations to oversee film production, distribution, and censorship, setting a foundation for future state intervention in the arts. The 30s saw a significant shift in Soviet cinema, both technologically and ideologically. The introduction of sound technology coincided with Joseph Stalin's consolidation of power and the implementation of socialist realism as the Soviet Union's official artistic doctrine in 1934. Socialist realism demanded art depict Soviet life in a positive, idealized manner. Films were required to portray reality in its revolutionary development and educate the masses in the spirit of socialism. This doctrine pushed filmmakers toward conventional narrative structures and themes, often focusing on historical epics, biopics, and achievements of Soviet industry and agriculture. The implementation of socialist realism coincided with the height of Stalinist repression. Filmmakers faced censorship, persecution, or worse if their work was deemed ideologically unsound. The vibrant avant-garde movement of the 20s was silenced, with some directors struggling to adapt to the new requirements, while others fell out of favor entirely. The outbreak of World War II, known in the Soviet Union as the Great Patriotic War, had a dramatic impact on Soviet cinema. Many film studios were evacuated to Central Asia, and production shifted almost entirely to support the war effort. Feature films of this period focus on heroic tales of resistance and sacrifice. After the war, Stalin's cult of personality reached its zenith, reflected in grandiose films celebrating Soviet victory and Stalin's leadership. However, film production fell significantly during this period, a phenomenon known as the cinema famine. Stalin's death in 1953 and Nikita Khrushchev's subsequent denunciation of Stalinist excesses ushered in a period known as the Thaw. This era saw a relative liberalization of cultural policies, allowing filmmakers to move away from the rigid conventions of socialist realism, exploring more personal and lyrical themes. Mikhail Kalatozov's The Cranes Are Flying in 1957 marked a significant departure from previous war films, focusing on the psychological impact on individuals rather than the grand patriotic narrative. This period also saw the emergence of new voices in Soviet cinema. Directors like Andrei Tarkovsky, with his debut feature Ivan's Childhood in 1962, began to push the boundaries of what was possible within the Soviet film industry. However, the thaw had its limits, as demonstrated by the case of Marlon Kutsyev's I Am 20 in 1965, which was heavily criticized and re-edited, revealing ongoing tensions between artistic expression and political control. The ousting of Khrushchev in 1964 and the beginning of the Brezhnev era led to a renewed tightening of cultural controls, often referred to as the period of stagnation. While not as severe as the Stalinist era, this period saw increased censorship and a return to more conservative artistic policies. In response, many filmmakers turned to historical or literary adaptations as a means of addressing contemporary issues obliquely. Tarkovsky's Andrei Rublev in 1966 and Ilya Klimlov's Come and See in 1985 are examples of this approach. Despite the restrictions, this era produced some of the most internationally renowned Soviet films. Directors like Sergei Parajanov and Kira Muratova developed highly individualized styles that put them at odds with authorities, but garnered critical acclaim abroad. The period also saw the rise of Soviet comedy as a subtle form of social commentary, with films like George Danelia's Autumn Marathon in 1979 using humor to critique aspects of Soviet life while remaining within the bounds of acceptable discourse. Genre films, particularly those aimed at children and young adults, often provided filmmakers with more creative freedom. Science fiction, in particular, became a vehicle for exploring philosophical and social issues, as seen in Tarkovsky's Solaris in 1972 and Stalker in 1979. Mikhail Gorbachev's policies of perestroika, restructuring, and glasnost, openness, in the mid-80s had a profound effect on Soviet cinema. The realization of censorship allowed filmmakers to tackle previously taboo subjects and re-examine Soviet history critically. This period saw the release of long-shelved films and the production of works directly confronting the darker aspects of Soviet history. Tengiz Abulazadeh's Repentance, finished in 1984 but only released in 1987, was a seminal work addressing the legacy of Stalinism through surreal allegory. The late 80s also witnessed a surge in films exploring contemporary social issues. Drug addiction, prostitution, and the Afghan war became subjects for filmmakers, reflecting this new spirit of openness. Films like Little Vera in 1988 shocked audiences with their frank depictions of sexuality and youth disillusionment. However, the economic chaos accompanying the dissolution of the Soviet Union had severe consequences for the film industry. State funding dried up, and many talented filmmakers struggled to continue working or had to leave the country altogether. The collapse of the distribution system further complicated matters, leading to a significant drop in domestic film production. The history of Soviet cinema from 1917 to 1991 is a testament to the complex relationship between art and politics. Throughout its existence, the Soviet film industry navigated a precarious balance between serving as a tool of the state propaganda and artistic expression. Despite the challenges of censorship and ideological control, Soviet filmmakers found ways to express their ideas, whether through historical allegory, science fiction, or comedy. Now let's move on to the ritual hunt. The concept of the hunt has been a cornerstone of human consciousness throughout history. From prehistoric cave paintings to modern sporting events, the act of pursuit and capture is deeply ingrained in our cultural DNA. Beyond its practical applications, the hunt carries symbolic and ritualistic meanings across cultures worldwide. One particular manifestation is the ritual hunt, a symbolic contest between opposing forces for a greater cosmic purpose. It represents a metaphysical struggle between fundamental dualities such as good and evil, light and darkness, and order and chaos. This notion is prevalent in many philosophical and religious traditions, from Taoism to Zoroastrianism. The ritual hunt provides a tangible framework for exploring abstract concepts, allowing engagement with fundamental truths about existence. In mythological traditions, the ritual hunt often takes the form of a cyclical battle between cosmic entities. In European folklore, Odin leads the wild hunt, a ghostly procession through the skies, presaging significant events. This spectral hunt symbolizes the ongoing struggle between order and chaos. Similarly, in Celtic mythology, Cernunnos, the god of the hunt, leads a chase through the forest, symbolizing the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. These divine hunts serve as means of connecting us with the natural world and understanding one's place in the cosmic order. The ritual hunt also plays a significant role in initiatory rites and coming-of-age ceremonies. In these contexts, it serves as a metaphor for the individual's journey towards self-discovery and spiritual awakening. Native American vision quests, for instance, often involve a symbolic hunt for spiritual insight, with the seeker venturing into the wilderness in search of enlightenment and overcoming their fears and limitations. Literature and art frequently employ the ritual hunt as a powerful metaphor for the human condition. Herman Melville's Moby Dick presents Captain Ahab's relentless pursuit of the white whale as a symbolic hunt for meaning and revenge against nature's capricious forces. The novel explores themes of obsession, fate, and human understanding within an epic hunt of cosmic proportions. In cinema, films like Predator and its prequel Prey depict humanity's champions proving their worth against superior alien hunters, blending modern myth-making with ancient initiatory rites. In many spiritual traditions, the ritual hunt is closely associated with sacrifice. The quarry represents an offering that must be captured or slain to maintain cosmic balance or appease divine forces. This sacrificial aspect highlights the interconnectedness of all things and the idea that something must be given up to gain greater value. The Greek myth of Actaeon illustrates this concept, with the hunter becoming the hunted as punishment for transgressing divine boundaries. Modern horror films like The Cabin in the Woods explore similar themes, presenting annual ritualistic hunts as necessary for humanity's survival. The ritual hunt can also take on more abstract forms, representing the pursuit of knowledge, wisdom, or spiritual enlightenment. The Grail quest in Arthurian legend exemplifies this, with knights embarking on a symbolic hunt for spiritual purity and divine grace. In modern context, the concept finds expression in sublimated or secularized forms. Competitive sports, for instance, can be seen as ritualized hunting, with participants pursuing victory within established rules. The Olympics transforms primal competition into a celebration of human achievement and global unity. Even in the digital age, the archetype of the ritual hunt persists. Video games often incorporate hunting elements, whether in literal simulations or abstract quest-based narratives. These digital hunts allow players to engage with timeless themes of pursuit, challenge, and achievement in controlled environments. Popular battle royale games like Fortnite can be seen as modern incarnations of a ritualized hunt. Lyumi casts the childhood fairy tale of Little Red Riding Hood as a ritual hunt. The big bad wolf hunts an innocent girl while the woodsman hunts the wolf. The film doesn't spell out what will happen if the wolf kills the girl, but hints that it's not good for humanity. The film also suggests the creature Lyumi and Gupert are immortals, eternally cast to fill these roles, demigods locked in a perpetual ritual hunt to determine the fate of mankind. In conclusion, the ritual hunt serves as a powerful symbolic framework for exploring fundamental aspects of human experience. It provides a tangible means of grappling with abstract philosophical and spiritual concepts. Whether manifested in religious ceremonies, literary metaphors, or modern-day competitions, the ritual hunt continues to resonate with our deep-seated need to find meaning and purpose in the face of life's inherent dualities. Far from being a relic of ancient mythologies, it remains a living, evolving concept that shapes our understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan on discussing Bad Moon from 1996. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back next episode.